This is the Chris Salcedo Show on the Blaze Radio Network.
I want to talk to my next guest, Brian Bouffard. He earned his law degree at Duke University Law School, is a former Navy JAG officer and practices law in Fort Worth, Texas. He's a criminal and military defense counsel who travels worldwide representing service members facing court-martial. Mr. Bouffard, welcome to the Chris Salcedo Show here on the Blaze Radio Network.
Hey, Chris, thanks for having me.
Look, we know that Bergdahl's back stateside. We know he's in San Antonio, Texas. Great place for him to be, by the way. Very progressive town, San Antonio is, led by an idiot, Julian Castro. I know Julian has nothing to do with this, but look, Mr. Bergdahl, what is next on his plate?
Well, right now, he's still going through his reintegration process, and they're actually quite serious when they say that that's just going to kind of happen in its own time. There is absolutely no time frame for that. That's going to be determined by his treatment providers and medical personnel, and to some extent probably the military intelligence folks who are debriefing him either with or without his active consent. And of course, we've also seen this week that the Army has assigned a major general to do their administrative investigation on this, and he's also going to He'll have a time limit on his investigation. We don't know what it is at this point because I haven't seen a copy of that appointing order. But towards the end, when Sergeant Bergdahl is cleared to talk with him, he'll at least have that opportunity to do so. He could also exercise his right to remain silent.
Let me get your reaction to Brad Sherman, Democrat, California, in his attempt to lay the predicate that things were just so bad over there that it would justify one deserting, one abandoning one's post, abandoning one's squad mates. Just give me your reaction as a man who served in the military, as a man who is around these individuals. How does that strike you, the actions being taken by Mr. Brad Sherman, congressman from California?
Well, based just on what I've heard, it seems like a very poorly thought out comment to say the least. I mean, obviously, if they had a rash of desertions and had a 85 to 90% desertion rate, well, that would be one thing. But we have one guy, and we have a platoon and a squad and a battalion and a brigade full of other folks who went over there and did their duty. And I'm sure that they didn't necessarily love being there, but they knew that they had a duty and they knew that they'd taken an oath. At the same time, we have to tap the brakes and agree that right now, from a criminal perspective, Sergeant Bergdahl is innocent until proven guilty. But it certainly seems to me that, the testimony of the Army specialists there who talk, I mean, there are several of those folks who can tell us exactly what was going on there right at the time in 2009 when Sergeant Bergdahl left.
No, I hear you. And actually, you took me right where I wanted to go. Brian Bouffard, my guest right now, he is a former Navy JAG officer. He defends those facing court-martial. So if you were looking at the case from a distance as you are, tell me, as things are unfolding with the facts we know right now, what is the likely fate of Mr. Bergdahl? Do you think, and this is removing, of course, all of Democrat efforts and back-channel efforts to guard the collective behinds of Democrats and Barack Obama. Let's just say that actually justice is served outside of that political influence. What is Mr. Bergdahl looking at? What is Mr. Bergdahl looking at as far as likely charges and perhaps which ones is he most likely to be convicted on?
Well, right now we have such a lack of real evidence that we really know about that it's hard to look at that and say, here's how I would start kind of planning his defense, or here's, if I were a prosecutor, here's what I would start looking at him to charge him with. But to me, there are at least three things that are in the arena here that the facts, could potentially make these out. Obviously, the first one is the one that we've all been talking about, and that is desertion. It seems to be absolutely clear that he was AWOL, that he was unauthorized, absent from his unit. That's not the same thing as desertion. It's less serious. In order for the government to prove desertion, they would need to be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that when he left in 2009, he had the intent to stay away permanently.
What about this rumored letter that he left behind? If that turns out to be true, that might go a long way to proving that, yes?
Yeah, I think there's pretty good evidence out there. I mean, even just the fact that you're in a war zone, you're in enemy-controlled territory, you leave your weapon behind, you leave your body armor behind, you couple that with, at least what we think we know about emails that he may have sent. I mean, to me, if I'm sitting on a panel a jury panel and I'm evaluating that evidence, that's pretty good evidence of what was in his mind.
All right, Brian Bouffard, up against the clock here. I got to cut our interview short.
Right.
I apologize for that. Brian Bouffard earned his law degree at Duke University. He is a former Navy JAG officer who represents folks under court-martial in the United States military. If folks want to learn more about what you do, where can they go?
My website is jagdefender.com. That's JAG-defender.com. And anybody who's facing any kind of military disciplinary issue or court-martial, give me a call. Let's talk about it.
All right, Brian Bouffard, appreciate your time and expertise here on the Chris Salcedo Show.
Thanks, Chris. Take care.